Amram is focusing on the next game, James. Behind the scenes, they're clearly focusing on central midfield. Are there other positions as well United would like to strengthen?
Yeah, they're looking at forward options. Antoine Semenyo was a market opportunity and represents a market opportunity in January with that release clause. United were in the market for him. They wanted to sign him, but he looks destined to join Manchester City. They could offer a better package, and right now they're a club who are very close to winning trophies, which is somewhere United aren't at right now, but somewhere that United want to be very soon. They're also monitoring the situation around players like Jean-Philippe Mateta at Crystal Palace, who got back to scoring ways yesterday, not being in the best of form for Crystal Palace right now. He's only got 18 months left on his contract, and it doesn't look like there's a real likelihood of him signing a new deal. So potentially in the summer, that represents a window where Jean-Philippe Mateta could move. I think it's unlikely Palace will sell him in the situation they're at, in the competition they're in right now at the moment. The other player is Jan Diomande from RB Leipzig, a winger, 19-year-old, one for the future. They're also looking at centre-backs because, yes, they've got plenty right now, but Harry Maguire is out of contract in the summer. And Jeremy Jacquet, Crystal Palace were in for him in the summer. They end up signing JD Convo, but Jacquet from Rennes is a player they're looking at as well. So very much players they're looking at for now, but also those for the future as well, as they try to get United back to where they think the club should be.
He said something similar, Mark, towards the end of last season about not having too much room for manoeuvre in the market. One of the keys probably for Manchester United was getting players out as well. Anthony going, Jadon Sancho going out on loan, Marcus Rashford going out on loan. Which players do you think are dispensable this month, and would Joshua Zirkzee be in that conversation?
Yeah, he's absolutely a player that potentially could be leaving Manchester United. We've heard from Ruben Amorim there, and he was quite clear really in terms of no one has asked to leave, and he's not expecting anyone to ask to leave. However, Joshua Zirkzee taken off at half-time against Wolves after scoring, and we know that there is interest from Roma. Does it feel like his days are coming to an end at Old Trafford? Yes, there's normally noise because there's an opportunity. Clubs don't generally go in for clubs or make it known that they're interested in players if they haven't been given some kind of assurance or guidance or a little bit of information from the representatives of the player. Yeah, he'd be open to coming. He's not particularly happy at the club, or he's not getting the game time he wants at the club. So let's get some noise out there. You make the approach and we'll see if we can get a deal done. Joshua Zirkzee, certainly one player that's on the radar of Roma at the moment, and you'd imagine there may be an opportunity for him to move on. Certainly, if not permanently, then at least on loan between now and the end of the window.
We've talked about central midfield and the options that Manchester United have looked at or have on a shortlist. Some Manchester United fans will say, we have quite a good one at the club. He's played for England at the last major tournament. Why aren't you using him more? Kobbie Mainoo.
Well, Kobbie Mainoo, he's currently out injured. He's missed the last couple of games, but when he was fit, he wasn't given opportunities. He's yet to start a match in the Premier League so far this season. It's our understanding, despite the fact there continues to be talk around Kobbie Mainoo, that United would only consider selling him if they receive an exceptional offer. And in terms of any outgoings in this January window, there would have to be, if they were to be loaned, with an obligation to buy, whereby United would receive a fee for the player. They're not going to be doing any clubs any favours, especially right now. They're potentially missing up to 8 first-team players for that game against Leeds this weekend. And we understand that Kobbie Mainoo, despite the fact it doesn't feel that way, is a key part of Manchester United's long-term future. And Ruben Amorim feels he's part of the long-term future as well. But what confuses us sometimes is the fact that Ruben Amorim doesn't seem to find a place for him in the starting 11 when he's fit. He says that Bruno Fernandes is the first choice in that position, and Kobbie Mainoo can only play in that position. Bruno Fernandes, when he's fit, doesn't miss a single minute. He's rarely taken off in games either. So Kobbie Mainoo, it's a weird situation whereby we're being told he's a key part of United's future, but when he's fit, we're not seeing him feature, and that is the disappointing thing for Manchester United fans. That's why he gets such a brilliant reaction when he comes onto the pitch. This is the player who scored the winning goal in the FA Cup final just over 18 months ago against Manchester City. But now it doesn't feel like there's a real route into that first team for him, especially when they want to sign 2 more midfielders. A
question then for either of you, that can both of those things not be true? That he can be seen as a part of the future, but for the moment, Bruno Fernandes is the preferred option. But Bruno Fernandes is nearly 31, I think. So particularly in a central midfield position, 2 or 3 more years at the top before Kobbie Mainoo does become the future of Manchester United.
I think with Kobbie Mainoo, because he's played for England and he's played at Euros for England, his career has accelerated at a rate that nobody really predicted, and he became a regular first-team player at Manchester United. I think we see the same with Miles Lewis-Skelly at Arsenal as well. They've accelerated to such a level where they feel like they should be getting first-team opportunities because their performances have merited them. But when you're such a young player, there are times in your career where progression isn't always upwards. And you're right, he's just 20 years of age, so perhaps some patience is required, because in 2 or 3 years' time he could become the most important player at Manchester United. But clearly he wants to be playing first-team football. He's been given first-team football in the past, so it's difficult for him to understand why he's not featuring, and it's difficult for a player that age not to be playing football either. So I understand where you're coming from. It feels like he could be a player for the long-term future, and we may not see him as much now, but clearly he's impatient. He wants to get on with his career. He wants to get back into that England side, which feels a long way away right now.
Manchester United are continuing to monitor the market ahead of future transfer windows, with planning already underway for the club's next phase of recruitment. While January activity is expected to be limited, United's long-term strategy includes identifying players who could become viable options should circumstances change. One such name is Jean-Philippe Mateta. The Crystal Palace striker has been on United's radar for some time, but there is no suggestion of an immediate move. Instead, his situation is being tracked as part of broader forward planning rather than short-term need. Recent reporting has added further clarity to United's position. According to Sky Sports, Manchester United hold a long-term interest in Jean-Philippe Mateta, a striker described as one of the best in the Premier League by Como scout Ben Mattinson, although they are not actively pursuing a forward during the current window. Sky Sports News report that Mateta could be considered more seriously if he becomes available, particularly with his contract situation at Crystal Palace developing. The 28-year-old is set to enter the final year of his deal in July, a factor that has already attracted attention from multiple clubs. Palace previously turned down bids worth up to £50 million for Mateta last summer, including offers from Champions League sides. His profile and performances have made him a consistent target across Europe. Mateta